As far as my report, a couple of brief items. Obviously, we're just a couple days back into the new school year. Our 8th grade orientations are scheduled to run this week and next week. Couple things. I've talked to the principals. That night might look a little bit differently. We're going to message our parents that some of the things traditionally that we talk about, saying sign up for your child's electives or this course. The truth of the matter is, and I've talked to a couple board members about this, is that all aspects of our academic program are going to be impacted, whether that's from class size, whether that's from what we offer and when we offer it, if that's delaying opportunities for students, and in the case of things like electives, they might look like students are only juniors and seniors can take that, may have been able to take it as freshmen and sophomores. We're going to stagger that, but the academic program as a whole, as a result of S2, is going to be impacted here. That's larger class sizes, that's fewer opportunities for children. We pride ourselves on being a comprehensive high school. We're going to certainly do everything in our power to maintain the elements of this district that have made us an exceptional school system that provides unbelievably rich opportunities for all of our students, regardless of what their interest or aptitude or passion is about. I think we have something for every child in this district, and we've been proud of that. But with looking at anywhere between $6 and $7 million reduction next year, and then a similar reduction for the year after that, and a similar reduction for a year after that, those 8th graders who are coming into our system are certainly going to feel that impact. It will start right away next year with some pretty stringent changes to busing, first and foremost, which unfortunately will certainly be an extra burden on our parents and our guardians, and we're well aware of that. But the scope of the reductions are going to be extreme. So those 8th grade messaging from the principals to what is going to be available, my directive to them is to be honest with our school community and to talk to them about S2 a bit, and to let them know that will certainly impact their child's education here in the Freehold Regional High School District. And there's a lot of the simple argument out there is overfunded, underfunded, declining student population, and I had a conversation with Mr. Messinger this weekend about this, and Ms. Capiella as well last week, about a position that was being abolished here. And so I went back to 2015, so 5 school years, and took a look at how many positions we've eliminated as our student population has declined. And since 2015, we've eliminated over 30 positions here, including 2 administrative positions. So to say that we haven't been responsible with our staffing and lived high on the hog is absolutely false, because we've drawn down our staff in conjunction with that declining population, which is about 1 to 1.5% a year. So if all the students that we lost in the past 5 years magically appeared on our front doors tomorrow, we'd still be losing millions of dollars, because it's a flawed funding formula. That's the issue. And we're going to make sure that the parents of the incoming 8th graders and parents, particularly in the K-8s who are sending their children to us, those are the folks who are going to feel it the most, because you're going to have cut after cut after cut for a number of years. The Support Our Students group, of which we're a part of, there's about 95 districts strong at this point in time. We're working very collaboratively over the past couple of weeks to develop some more specific action to bring the message, obviously to legislators about the impact of S2, but broader messaging to the community. We've revised our Oprah request of the state for the funding formula in and of itself. The truth of the matter is that there may not be a specific formula that tells you what each community does, and that's even worse, because we suspect strongly that this aid is simply backfilled. And the burden that's falling on the Freehold Regional High School District it's not so simple to say that we are undertaxing our school community. It's much more nuanced than that. It is a massive redistribution of wealth across the state, and some school districts are going to be harmed, potentially to a degree that they can't recover from. I've said it over and over again, the districts that were largely underfunded for 8 to 9 years under the previous regime deserve every penny of the funding that they receive. There is new fund in the budget, so it shouldn't be a zero-sum game that you had underfunded, overfunded, then you kick the can to somewhere else and you have new underfunded, overfunded, which is a problematic term. But to solve the problem that you have for some districts at the expense of other districts and create the exact same problem that you're coming out from doesn't make much sense. So we're going to continue with our advocacy efforts. We're going to continue to put the word out. We're going to continue to message our public about what the impact is to our communities and our student experience here in the Freehold Regional High School District. And that concludes my report.
Okay, I have a question.
Yep.
I've been seeing that Tom's River's really taken the lead, sending kids down to Trenton, bus convoys, et cetera, et cetera. When you've talked to them, is that superintendent feel he's just beating his head against the wall, or is there any kind of tangible glimmer of hope that he could pull out of all the advocacy that these people are doing in Tom's River?
Yeah, there's strength in numbers, and I think that a lot of the districts that are on that other side of funding, we're very involved with the SOS group. We've come together to talk to each other about what's working in our communities, how to continue to message, sharing letters with one another, joining together, obviously, in the lawsuit, working collaboratively. I think that everyone is hopeful that folks will realize the unintended consequences of this might be way more extreme than they anticipated. And I think that we all feel that if you don't continue to just message that over and over and over again, it's going to be subsumed by other things. There's a large general election coming up in 2020. It's a presidential election year. There's a lot of room for attention and opportunity for some real dialogue. The difficulty with the funding issue to begin with is even the districts who are experiencing extreme negative consequences of S2 are experiencing those in very different ways because of the nuanced way in which the formula plays out in every community. So some districts have other issues with pilots and things like that where there's, might be a lot more money available. So not everybody's issue is the same as well, but I think what we have done is manage to have a regular chain of communication, a regular meeting protocol, form the SOS group, of which we have a number of subcommittees, the Legislative Committee, Political Action Committee, which I'm heading at this point in time, and are able to draw from one another in terms of how we approach this. Definitely different philosophies on what the best way might be, but certainly common goals.
We won't know anything until April budget hearing anyway, but nothing can happen before then?
No, we're actively looking at huge chunk items right now, but the rubber won't hit the road until we get our actual state aid figures. We have an idea. We know, we anticipate, and Mr. Boyce, you can chime in if I'm off, but we anticipate somewhere between $6 and $7 million. That could be a little bit better. It could be a little bit worse. If it's worse, that's a huge scope. But what people aren't also understanding is we were already $1.4 million reduction, $3.8 million reduction. Now we're coming to that point. You know, and we've said it over and over again, in a regionalized model that obviously works with the low per pupil cost, that's thousands under similar districts. So, but no, what that cut looks like is a fundamentally different school system than what we have presently, to the negative for children.
And with the orientations coming up soon, like the day after tomorrow, it's really hard for the parents to really get a feel for it.
Yeah, you know, the unfortunate reality is folks are going to notice when things are reduced, you know, and it's just the natural way of things, is that no matter how much messaging we're doing, social media, letters, calls home, letters to the editor, we have a whole website devoted to how you can advocate for this school system. At the end of the day, when the face of that school system really starts to change for individuals directly, I think that's when they will realize just how different it might be. And that's an unfortunate reality. You know, what we've asked over and over again is hold folks harmless and take a pause before you move through the phase-in of S2, and take some time to study the formula and to study the impacts, which they have not done. You know, we've asked that of the Department of Education. We've asked legislators to sponsor legislation as such. You know, that, you know, this became, you know, sort of the law and the way that schools were going to be funded, and we've just moved forward. No one's ever taken a step back to actually examine what this is going to look like in certain communities. So it's a tough place to be.